are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
Hey, ooh, spooky smoke effect. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, however spooky it feels, and however many times you're going to ride that lightning, just let me know. Whatever it is, I'm just glad that you're here with me. Legal Vices on my channel, Legal Vices, because I'm clever that way. It is our Halloween Maritime Monday stream. We've got some Halloween thingies going on here. First, we've got some other things to discuss. We have a tragic accident to discuss. We have a miraculous rescue to discuss. And we've got the things to discuss before we get to the disgusting thing to discuss. The Cannibal Rat Ghost Ship. I mean, you know, what's better than a cannibal Halloween? What's better than a ghost ship Halloween? What's better than a rat-infested Halloween? A cannibal rat-infested ghost ship Halloween. That's what. So that's what we're going to be talking about later. And then possibly an attack by a giant sea creature at the end. We'll see how things go. How are all of you? We currently have 111 people. Ooh, lucky numbers all around. We need lucky numbers on this Halloween Eve here in Korea. You still got a couple days left over there in yon Middx land. That's America. Listen to me just throwing around Korean terms. I have been so busy at work today. There was 2 new incidents that came into the office today. So I've been speaking Korean nonstop since 7 o'clock this morning, and it's 10:04 p.m. now. So yeah, Middx is America. All of you people over there in Middx land, in America land, have a couple of days left before Halloween, but it's All Hallows Eve here today. It's October 30th. And let's get down to business here real quick. First of all, we got the like and subscribe poll up. I know we haven't done anything to justify any likes yet, but I'm so happy to see that. Of the 120 of you that are here, 84 have already hit that like button. I promise you, I will talk about something that you will like, at least for a few seconds during the next 2 or so hours. So please, just while I'm talking about it, while you're thinking about it, get down there, smack that like button and smash the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I would be honored to earn your subscription today. The same goes for you people on the replay crew. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, just double check and make sure that you're still subscribed. And if not, do it again. And then take this like and subscribe poll, our daily little poll, into nothing in particularly interesting. It's just a fun little thing to remind you to hit that like and subscribe button. So today, like, subscribe, and then vote. What is your Maritime Monday Halloween costume? A cannibal crewman? A cannibal crewman's victim? Davy Jones, not the monkey one from the Monkeys, the other one, like the guy with the locker at the bottom of the ocean. And Baby Shark, do Baby Shark, do Baby Yoda. We got the doggos over here just kind of chilling out, relaxing, waiting for the doggo cam to be unlocked, as that achievement is hopefully achieved today. We don't normally attain doggo cam on Maritime Monday because it's kind of a niche program, but $100 in super chats unlocks the doggo cam achievement. But they are all locked and loaded and ready to bulldog for you. They're actually kind of snoring already, so got that out of the way. Now, I think I'm done with the drink of the day. If I open a particularly interesting bottle of whiskey or a new bottle of whiskey I haven't had before, we'll do a drink of the day. But I think that's kind of run its course. We've done a bajillion cocktails and a bajillion different whiskeys, so we'll keep doing it as the situation warrants, but it won't be a thing anymore. But if you're curious, I am nearing the bottom of a bottle of Smoke Wagon. This is from Vegas. This is from Las Vegas, Nevada HSC Distillery Co. Smoke Wagon, uncut, unfiltered, straight bourbon whiskey from Las Vegas. Because it is barrel strength, it is 57.23%. This is a great, if you ever find yourself over Las Vegas way or someplace that sells Smoke Wagon and you like a good, strong whiskey, can't do any better than Smoke Wagon. Excuse me. Didn't have time to hit the mute button for that cough. Right. Oh, yeah. And because it is Halloween, I don't have a nautical themed pipe here right now, but this was the very first custom. Was this the very first custom pipe I ever did? This was the, no. This was the second custom pipe I ever did. But this was the first one that had not been started before I commissioned it. This is my alien xenomorph pipe. Get up there. Focus, focus, focus. Damn it. It was focused earlier. And all right, let's do this. There. There we go. This is my alien xenomorph pipe. This is carved by a master carver from Armenia. This is a great little, hey, get up there. Get up there. Come on. It doesn't like the left side of this for some reason. That's odd. I like how you have to do this. There we go. That's what I've been smoking while doing show prep. But for some reason, it doesn't like it. All right. Well, anyway, that's it. That's the alien xenomorph pipe with a big little hole in the head there. Got the shiny white teeth. Got some of the little venting things that they have on the sides of them. Right, there we go. That's the pipe I've been smoking. But the tamper is kind of cool, too. The tamper is that used to pack down the tobacco is the tail of the xenomorph. So yeah, that's the tamper that I use for the alien pipe. So there we go. That's what I was smoking pre-game here to kind of relax the vocal cords from a stressful day. So all right, that's it. Now tomorrow we'll be having a really cool pipe because we are going to be doing Halloween. The readings that we did, the HP Lovecraft readings we did last week were successful enough and supported enough that I could do it again. I could justify doing it again. So for Halloween morning, we'll be doing some more spooky stories by Edgar Allan Poe and HP Lovecraft. As I promised, I will be reading The Raven from Edgar Allan Poe because that's my favorite Poe poem and one of my favorite stories, if you'll call it a story. And then we'll get back into HP Lovecraft. So I'll have a Raven pipe tomorrow. I love my Raven pipe. So, okay. I wonder if Vices has thought about dressing as an older Bluto. I'm trying to lose weight, people. Come on. I'm trying. Yes. Rip Bill Paxton. Game over, man. It's a bug hunt. Yep. Yes, we will have more spooky stories tomorrow. Thank you. And so real quickly here, then we'll jump straight into this. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. And we can chit chat on the back end if there's time. Today, Maritime Monday. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we'll be doing the Halloween readings. Wednesday will be the final edition of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard sidebar readings, the dramatic readings we've been doing for past couple months, actually. Later on, maybe a week or two down the road, there might be an encore presentation of a closed hearing in which Eve Barlow is ejected from the courtroom. We'll probably do that as an encore at some point in the future, probably a couple of weeks down the road. Thursday will be Chandler Remington and I doing our normal OJ Simpson chill stream. We got about 3 or 4 more weeks of that left. And then we will be starting a new trial that we've discussed. We've got a couple new trials lined up and locked up and ready to go, old trials. And Friday will be a special show, a special presentation. It'll be Steve Gosney and friends. I know we have probably, I'm trying to think of everybody. Chandler, Flux, Steph the Alternate, Steve Gosney, because I will be hosting the launch of Steve Gosney's new book. And we'll get the pre-orders rolling on my stream. So that'll be Friday morning U.S. time. And Friday night U.S. time, I will be on with Talk with Sally. I will be co-hosting her birthday stream over on Talk with Sally stream on Friday evening. So don't miss that. Okay, let's do these super chats here and then get on with the unfortunately tragic news of the day. Hugh Jazz, we've been a member for 8 months. Thank you so much for your support for 8 months. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. You should get a Predator pipe carved to go with the Xenomorph. Oh, Alien versus Predator was like one of the worst movies ever. But the same guy that did this, Alien Xenomorph pipe, actually, why doesn't it focus on that? That's weird. Anyway, whatever. The guy that does this pipe, he's also carved some really cool Predator pipes. But I don't know. I'm just I don't feel a Predator pipe. And okay, if you care about the pipes, just real quickly. I know I just keep saying real quickly, and then we just keep talking. But real quickly, I showed you on last Friday my 2 Cthulhu pipes with a Cthulhu carved head. Now I've also got two Cthulhu themed pipes. One is called the Stone of Riley, and the other one is hopefully being mailed today from Finland. My premier pipe carver guy, one of the greatest pipe carvers on earth, is from Finland. Great guy. When I get that pipe, I will bring him on the stream and we'll talk to him about his pipes and his pipe carving, just as one of those things that we do, because that's part of my legal vices, being pipes and cigars, tobacco, and maritime stuff. And next Maritime Monday, by the way, we will be having a very special guest, unless something changes in the meantime. We'll be having the founder. Again, this is great because two of my legal vices all come together in one next Maritime Monday. As some of you may know, I'm sort of a watch collector guy. I like collecting watches. I love good timepieces. We will be having the founder and president. I think he's the president. He's the founder of Nomadic Watches. In fact, it's the very watch that I'm wearing today. It's on my wrist, so I can't take it off. But yes, we'll be having the founder of Nomadic Watches from Belfast, Ireland. He will be on here to talk not only about his watch company and the maritime aspects of his watches. They're all good quality divers watches, but also sort of the maritime history of Belfast. For those of you that may not know, the Titanic was built in Belfast. So Belfast, Ireland has a deep maritime history. And he's also somewhat of a maritime adventurer. He's got some stories to tell about some of his adventures. So we'll have him on next Monday. So stay tuned for that. Okay, folks. Pipes and whiskey and cannibals. Oh my. What's my favorite watch? My boyfriend collects them. Oh, my favorite watch. God, it's a beautiful my favorite watch that I own, or the favorite watch that I wish I could own. Because there's about a $750,000 difference between the favorite watch I own and the favorite watch I like. The favorite watch I own, it's a limited edition Omega. It's a CK859, I believe is the model number. It's this gorgeous retro 1930s style Omega watch. We should do a watch stream one of these days, because Flux, who's listening somewhere in the background, she showed off her watches on one of her streams. I should kind of do a watch stream one of these days with watchy people. All right, there we go. Right. Yes, the Titanic was built in Belfast, as I just mentioned. Oh, I am full of energy because, hey, cannibal rats, ghost ships, all coming together. MG Law, what's up, brother? Good to see you here. My favorite watch, like up to $2,000. This one. This was $1,000, and it worth every damn penny of it. Yeah. Yeah, the Omega one was not cheap, but it was, yeah. But if you want to go okay, I don't want to turn this into a watch stream, but if you want to go solid for value for money, anything from G-Shock. G-Shock is God tier watches. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, JKD Buck. If we do a watch stream, that will be the intro. Trust me. Watches are normally not sexy to women. The only people that notice you have a really nice watch are dudes. So if you want to pick up dudes, watches is a good way to do it. But we'll schedule a watch stream somewhere down the line, just for the hell of it. Like I don't know, we'll do it. But that's not what we're going to be talking about here right now, because we got to go. I plan just to jump straight into these maritime stories and things within 5 minutes of going live, and we're already 16 minutes in. I apologize. Time for another pinned number saying just go 15 minutes in to get to the damn stories. Jin versus Jiff, why are you holding out on us about the cruise ship on a hill in Jeongdo-jin? Cruise ship on a hill in Jeongdo-jin. If that's the thing, I think you're talking about. Jeongdo-jin. Ship. Mountain. If that's what you're thinking. Oh yeah. it's a Sun Cruise hotel and condo. Yeah, that's actually kind of a thing. Oh, I'm trying to think if I have any actual pictures of that. I used to ride my motorcycle around that area all the time back in the day. Anyway, it's this giant hotel that's built by Sun Cruises that's shaped like a cruise ship. All right, thank you for mentioning that. We'll bring that. That'd be a good just like a filler for next Maritime Monday, or if we have some time, we'll talk about it at the end. But hey, I forgot totally about that. Thank you so much. Not holding out, just forgot. And Britt Cormier, morning, watches and cannibals. I am in. Thank you so much for that. 10. Oh, we got to do this again. Jennifer and the others that have gone before. Britt Cormier, there we go. Morning, watches and cannibals. I'm in. And Bad Weather Biker. I collect self-winding Seiko. Oh, Seikos are great. There's one Seiko that all right, we're not doing a watch stream. We'll talk Seiko. Seikos are great. Seikos and Casios, God tier. And Bulovas from the 60s and 70s. Ooh, Bulova they still do, but they used to make some really great watches back in the day. Thank you so much, Bad Weather Biker. All right, with that behind us, let's get on with the day. I apologize for the delays. All right. Are we ready? Now, time to put the shenanigans aside, time to put all this aside. There is unfortunately some tragic news in the maritime world to talk about here. There was a collision last Tuesday off the coast of Germany. And let me bring up the oldie story here. Is that a little small? That's a little small, isn't it? Let's do this. This is cargo ship Verity crashes. This is the latest. Passenger cruises diverted to help in North Sea search after fatal crash. Rescue divers are searching. This was from last Tuesday. Rescue divers are searching for signs of life on a British cargo boat that crashed and sank this morning as 4 sailors remain missing. 1 sailor has died and 2 have been rescued, revealed German authorities. The 4 missing crew members may be alive and sheltering inside the vessel on the sea floor. Again, that is not a story you like to hear. That's not something that we want to hear. And no, Adara, we'll get to you. I promise. We'll get to you really quick. I've seen your super chat. We'll get there. 1 sailor has died and 2 have been rescued, but there's still possibly 4 more trapped in an air pocket inside the vessel on the bottom of the seafloor. That's just something you don't even want to think about. That's real life horror. That's not, Halloween stuff. That's just real life horror. The spokesperson said during a press conference alongside the German Maritime Search and Rescue Service. The ships Policy and Verity collided in the early morning about 14 miles southwest of the island of Helgoland. I think it's supposed to be Heligoland. Germany's Central Command for Maritime Emergencies said Verity was headed from Bremen, Germany to the English port of Immingham. The other ship, the Bahamas-flagged Policy, remained afloat with 22 people on board. A P&O cruise called the Iona, which was traveling from Hamburg, is helping with the urgent rescue mission, confirmed officials. Again, this is old, so all this should be in the past tense now. According to reports, passengers were panicked when there was an onboard captain announcement at 6 a.m. this morning. A spokesperson for P&O Cruises said P&O Cruises Iona is currently involved in a search and rescue operation off the coast of Germany. The incident is ongoing, and Iona's cooperation complies with the international maritime law as well as being consistent with the company's moral and legal obligations. Now, that's the thing. If a distress call goes out, a mayday call. Again, there's 2 other levels before a mayday call. One is just be on notice. One is sort of pay attention, and then the other is urgent. A mayday is the full-on urgent assistance required. At that point, when the mayday goes out and there's a ship in distress, the ship sinking, whatnot, all ships in the vicinity have a legal obligation to stop whatever voyage they happen to be on and render assistance and in searching and rescuing passengers aboard the stricken vessel or vessels. So that's what he's saying when they complies with international maritime law. It's a recognized international law that all ships must assist with the rescue operations. Now, he also mentions that it complies with the company's legal obligations and moral obligations. That's really the point, isn't it? Do you have to be legally forced to go get something? Now, the issue arises, hey, wait a minute, we're on a time-sensitive voyage here. We've got passengers or whatnot, or we've got cargo that has to arrive at point A at a given time. And if not, these ships can face tens of thousands of dollars delay penalties per day. But they're still required to go do this. And there's a whole complicated system of how they can charge for these delays. And there's a lot of exemptions and waivers from liability for these delays if they're caused by such things as that. Oh, shoot. I mean, it's a bad situation. Well, let's continue with this story. Social media users shared their condolences. Bit of a different post today. My deep condolences to the family of the lost that were in the North Sea off the coast of Germany. 2 rescued, 1 body have been discovered. Then a sobering day. This is from someone who was on the Iona, I take it. Woken up at 5:30 a.m. by the captain calling rescue staff to muster. It has emerged that 2 tankers collided off the German coast. It's reported the British vessel is sunk. The ship we are on is assisting the Coast Guard. 5 days ago, what has happened so far? A British cargo ship has sunk off the coast of Germany following a collision with 1 sailor announced dead, 4 remaining missing. The ships collided early in the morning, about 14 nautical miles. The British flagged Verity apparently sank, when the other ship, the Policy, remains waterborne with its 22 passengers. Wow. My tongue needs to come unleashed. Ooh, phrasing. One person was rescued from the water and is being given medical treatment, while rescue parties are searching for several more people who remain unaccounted for. The search mission involved 9 ships and aircraft, including a German Navy helicopter and a P&O cruise line, who spent the day scouring the area. A woman who was traveling on the Iona P&O cruise ship headed towards Rotterdam when she was awoken by the captain's shocking announcement. The passenger, who does not wish to be identified, described her fear this morning when the news broke. She said, "When you wake to muster, 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 you know something tragic is happening outside." Shortly after the captain made the announcement, we knew it wasn't the Iona. Okay, so it's not us, but what is it? She says as she continues on her trip, she will think of the sailor and praise the others are saved. According to the cruise goer, the Iona boat left the scene at 2:15 p.m. local time. There's a lot of duplicated information here. All right. A search and rescue operation began after the British flag Verity hit a larger cargo ship. I keep wanting to say Coast Guard. Policy, about 14 miles southwest of the German island of Heligoland. I believe that's the proper one there. Around 5 a.m. on Tuesday, while the larger Bahamas flag Policy stayed afloat. The Verity, which had departed from Bremen, Germany, and was destined for the port of Immingham on the east coast of England carrying steel coils, became submerged. Shortly afterwards, a signal from the ship was lost. German authorities said, and wreckage was found. Searches are continuing involving several ships, aircraft, and a P&O cruise ship, with rescuers preparing to dive 98 feet, 30 meters to the wreckage. Robbie Renner, Germany's head of Central Command for Maritime Emergencies, told a news conference in Cuxhaven. I don't know, Cuxhaven. What? Cuxhaven. It is possible that remaining crew are still alive inside the sunken vessel and that his team is doing everything humanly possible to rescue them. Michael Ippich of the German Maritime Search and Rescue Service said the water temperature at the time of the collision was 12 C, 54 degrees Fahrenheit, which people can survive for about 24 hours. Mr. Ippich told reporters the conditions on the spot are extremely difficult because of weather and visibility. It's incredibly difficult to conduct a search operation. A spokesman for P&O Cruises told the PA news agency P&O Cruises Iona is currently involved in a search and rescue operation off the coast of Germany. This is the condition they were searching in at the time. Heavy fog. I mean, this is less than ideal search and rescue conditions. There's some maps that they say show where the ship went missing, but they're not really very. This is where the ship went missing. They're not the greatest of maps. And this, again, they're repeating they could survive for about 20 hours. This is a picture of the Verity here. This is the Verity cargo ship that was loaded with steel coils. And I mean, these steel coils are these massive, massive, super mega ton, gigantic steel rolls of like sheet metal and whatnot. You may have seen them if you're like driving down the highway or the road, and you see these enormously long trailers with these gigantic rolls of metal on them. This ship was full of them. Again, more useless graphics on that story. But that was the initial few hours that around the time that the accident occurred. But unfortunately, there's been some serious updates since then. This was from what, a couple of days ago, I believe. Again, there's a better picture of the Verity. 2 cargo ships collided in the North Sea off the coast of Germany on Tuesday, and one of them sank. At least 1 sailor died, and rescuers were trying to find another 4. The vessels collided shortly before 5 a.m. at 22 kilometers southwest of the island of Helgoland. I guess that must be the actual name. I thought it was Heligoland. Anyway, German's Central Command for Maritime Emergencies said the collision site was about 31 kilometers northeast of Langug Island, which is just off the German mainland. The British flag Verity, which had 7 people on board and was en route from Bremen, Germany, to the English port of Immingham, sank shortly after the collision. A signal from the ship was lost about 5:20 a.m. So the collision happened around 5, and then within 20 minutes, the ship was at the bottom of the ocean. That's a pretty quick sink, suggesting it had already gone down and wreckage was found. 2 sailors were rescued and taken to a hospital where they weren't in life-threatening condition. The body of 1 man was recovered, while 4 other people were still missing. So 2 people were taken to the hospital, 1 was confirmed dead, and 4 were still missing at the time this was written. We're now doing everything humanly possible to rescue more people alive, said head of the emergency command, Robbie Renner. Then again, they can survive 20 hours. They're down about 30 meters, but the divers were unable to find anything. So they searched the ship. The divers searched the ships, but there was nobody remaining on the ship. So the hopes of finding someone in air pockets, gone. And the increasingly strong currents meant that they couldn't immediately try again. Visibility at the site was low, and any dives could only be made in a short window between tides. The Verity was 91 meters long and 14 meters wide. It was carrying steel coils. The other bigger ship, the Bahama-flagged Policy, remained afloat and had 22 people on board. None of them were believed to be injured. And that happens so often that you'll get one ship that just suffers all that. I mean, the Policy suffered damage, but when you get a ship that is so much larger than another ship, I wouldn't say normally people don't get hurt, but it's not uncommon for nobody to be hurt on the other ship. I've dealt with cases literally where you'll get 150,000 ton, ore carrier or some super sized gigantic ship, 100,000, 150,000 tons, that will hit a 40 ton or even a 200 ton fishing boat. They won't even feel. The first inkling they will have that there was a collision is when the Coast Guard stops them and tells them that they're suspected of just running straight over the top of another ship. Because these things are so huge that they don't even feel it. So that's not uncommon that people are not injured on the other ship whilst one is sitting at the bottom of the ocean. No immediate word on the cause of the collision. So that's going to take a long time. It's going to be investigated. There'll be all sorts of inquiries held and whatnot. But we have a better story. We have a happier story that we're getting to. Unfortunately, the final update that we had with the final update that we've had on this particular case came out just the other day. North Sea search abandoned for 4 missing on British ship Verity. Let me ensmallen myself here so we can read along at home if you're so inclined. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. But that is. Right. There's some of the ships involved in the search. German rescuers have called off a search for 4 crew missing from a British ship that sank in the North Sea early on Tuesday morning. The Verity collided with the ship. Rescue efforts were suspended on Tuesday night and would not be resumed, the rescue service said. And that's unfortunately kind of the end of it. Rescue divers had attempted to find signs of life in the wreck, but said they were hampered by difficult conditions. The conditions around the wreck were very difficult. Visibility only 1 or 2 meters. So literally feeling for bodies inside this ship. And the strong currents had hampered rescue efforts. The Iona was in the search area, contributed to the search. The company confirmed to ITV that the Iona had fulfilled its obligation under international and moral law, and it continued on its journey. So, four souls on the Verity are unaccounted for, obviously presumed dead, bringing the death toll from the Verity to 5 of these 7 crew members. Did I aim big in instead of in small on? Whatever. Right. So that is the unfortunate result of the collision that occurred last Tuesday off the coast of Germany. And if anything else comes to my attention from that collision as time goes by, as the investigations continue, if I hear about anything, I'll be sure to pass that along. But as I said, there are some good stories out there. But before we get to that, I do want to get to the super chat that I was accused of missing, which I kind of did. I did get, I'm scrolling back up to get to it. I did see it, but I somehow had undone myself. Where are we here? There we are. Nope, wrong one. Give me just one quick second here. Haha, Adara the Wholesome. Maritime Monday recommendation. How about the USS Barb, the only submarine to sink a train? Good morning from Mark Furman Land, Idaho. There we go. Up there in CDL territory. Happy Halloween. Well, happy soon to be Halloween for you. I've still got an hour and a half before Halloween hits. Korea. MG Loss has already pre-ordered Gosney's books a few weeks ago. Well, you should just wait, because then you could order it, and then that would contribute to his getting him morning. Stephen Gosney has taken the day off work to do this launch party at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So he's going to be not day drinking, morning drinking, apparently. Ugh. So, all right, let's share some good news. Too often we have just horrifically bad news here. Wow, what was that? Dogs are making Halloween noises behind me. Oh. Here we go. Adara the Wholesome. For context for viewers, former air search and rescue. Here is emergency radio calls watered down. Yeah, Mayday, imminent loss of life, PAN. Yeah, and secure. Okay. That's the cautionary advisory. And then the PAN. Everything has to be repeated 3 times to make sure you didn't mishear something and to make sure you heard something. That's why they say Mayday, 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 and they say PAN. That's the possible loss of life. And the first 2 are just kind of pay attention, be on standby, and the Mayday is the drop what you're doing and help out. Thank you so much there. Yeah, I know you're a former air search and rescue. In my youth back in Utah, I was a Civil Air Patrol guy. Daily Quick Bite says, Legal Vices, did you ever do one where a tug or something sunk and a diver went in and shockingly found a live guy who had been surviving in an air pocket for days? There's one of those actually on the waiting list for Maritime Monday. 2 of them, actually. One of them is just a dude in an overturned boat. And the other one involves a submersible. So those are 2 stories that are on deck for future Maritime Mondays. The word tug always makes me laugh. Great. Is Kitty the one you sent like a year ago? That's one of the ones that's on deck for future Maritime Mondays. All right, let's talk about some good news, shall we? The first bit of good news I think we should mention I think we should mention is we're about halfway, a little less than halfway to Doggo Camp. We're about 60 away from unlocking that particular achievement. The next piece of good news is this story right here. Miracle at sea as Westport fisherman is found alive on a life raft in British Columbia more than 2 weeks after he went missing and survived by eating salmon he pulled from the ocean. Wasn't that nice? Interestingly enough, as we go down through here, you'll notice that this guy was discovered sort of kind of in the same position that last week's Cannibal ghost ship from Japan was discovered in the early 1900s. Same area. One of two fishermen who went missing missing at sea off the coast of Washington was found alive on a life raft in the Pacific Ocean 2 weeks after he went missing. The unidentified fisherman was rescued by a Good Samaritan vessel 70 miles away from Cape Flattery. And that's where the Japanese ship was discovered. Empty and skeletons of 8 of the 12 passengers scattered about the deck in the northwest corner of Washington and west of Vancouver. He was taken to shore by the Canadian Coast Guard and was reported to be in stable condition by the U.S. Coast Guard Pacific Northwest. According to the Coast Guard, a 43-foot boat named Evening left Westport, Washington on October 12th with 2 people on board and was supposed to return on October 15th. Hey, dude, what's up? Happy to be rescued. Lots of stuff here. All right. The Coast Guard was notified this week of the missing boat. Officials began an elaborate search that covered an area of 14,000 square miles along the coastline for 8 hours to find them. Ultimately, they were forced to suspend the search, but a Canadian crew found them drifting on a raft. Ryan Plains and his uncle John from Souk, British Columbia, were out early with friends on a fishing excursion when they spotted the raft floating in the distance. He told King TV Seattle, "I saw what looked like a life raft in the distance and ran inside and put the binoculars on him, and then he shot off a flare. We pulled him on board. He gave me a big hug, and it was emotional." They soon contacted the Canadian Coast Guard. John told officials that the man had spent 13 days alone on the raft and survived by eating salmon. He told the publication, "We made him breakfast. He drank 3 bottles of water. He was pretty hungry, poor guy." Pretty hungry, I guess. Yeah, probably. Well, he drank 3 bottles of water, so he's clearly thirsty as hell. The Canadian crew had never planned to go that far into the sea to catch, but John decided to visit a hotspot to try his luck. There we are, getting some more rescuing going on. There he is, happy to be rescued. This is what a one-man life raft looks like. Possibly, you can possibly maybe squeeze 2 people in there, but this is what a little, see, imagine looking for this tiny little thing here in 14,000 square miles of ocean. That is a hell of a lot of ocean to find this teeny tiny little life raft. My question is, maybe it was the size of the vessel or whatnot, but why there would not be, I'm curious as to why there was not an emergency locator beacon on this setup here. Could be the size, just not required to, but have them anyway. His daughter Rosie Plains wrote on Facebook, "This morning my dad and his crew spotted a castaway bobbing around on a small raft about 35 miles off the coast of Tofino. It turns out he's a tuna fisherman and had been missing from Washington State since bad weather hit Friday, October 13th. Friday the 13th is not the best day to go missing in 14,000 square miles of ocean." So there you go. I'm sure that thought crossed his mind once or twice that, gee, you couldn't get any more Friday the 13th than getting basically shipwrecked and castawayed into a tiny little life raft in a 14,000 square mile search area. The Coast Guard called the search off October 20th. "My dad was going to head back to dry land yesterday, but instead decided to try his luck and head towards a hotspot he knows well. It was there off the bow of the boat. He'd lock eyes with an unfamiliar face that no one on board would soon forget. I truly believe my father was called upon. He had a divine appointment, and with that, this man was saved. I can't imagine the heavy emotion and sheer joy in his heart, the frequency bursting through this moment. and all the crew on board. It gives me intense feels just thinking about it. Today, I reflect on gratitude for life, love, and hope. The reason for the boat going missing has yet not been determined. U.S. Coast Guard Public Affairs Specialist, Petty Officer First Class Travis McGee, said the cause of the incident resulting in the missing vessel and the individual being found aboard a life raft is currently under investigation. A life raft can greatly increase your chances of survival. Really? Duh. A life raft can greatly increase your chances of survival. You think? The U.S. Coast Guard Pacific confirmed that the second fisherman remains missing and all searches have been suspended. So I brought you a happy story with a miraculous ending, which unfortunately had a second ending that was not as joyful as the rest of the article. Yes, at least he was able to catch salmon. But water. I'm surprised. I would guess there was probably some emergency water. They had took some water with them or with him onto the life raft. Perhaps some purification systems or tablets built. We just don't know. But he managed to survive for 2 weeks in that tiny little. And that would get cramped and lonely. And I just can't imagine how soon it would take me to go absolutely stark raving mad. Yes, exactly, Mexican Vader. And not breathing in water can help prevent drowning. Rip Matthew Perry. Too soon? Squid Pro Crow says, Jeff, I know a life raft seems obvious, but remember, people had to be reminded to wash their hands after using the bathroom. So people need obvious. There you go. I'm just kind of scrolling back up here to see things. Flux says, oh, weird. A good sea story. Lol. Tricked you with the ending, didn't I? It's like the Lord of the Rings, except they had like a bunch of happy endings. This had happy ending and then, in one sentence, and another dude couldn't be found at the end. He'll never eat salmon again. Either that or he'll start worshiping the salmon gods like Dagon and other Lovecraftian sea gods. And just eat them for every meal. That's what I would do. All right. And we did get one more super chat coming in. Pin King 554. How to send a link to a happy boating article. Any happy boating articles or not so happy boating articles can be sent to me at thelegalvices@gmail.com. Thelegalvices@gmail.com. And we'll add it to our list of prospective stories. Thank you so much for your super chat. And Britt bringing another $5 super chat. When it's freezing, having clothes can help your survival. Same statement as having a life raft. Lol. Ooh, but a little different though. When you're suffering from hypothermia, the best way to heat up, I mean, non-sexually jokingly, the best way to restore body temperature is body on body heat. So, because actually in a lot of cases, the clothing can wick the heat from your body. That's why if you're camping up in the, somewhere and when it's cold, everybody will like bundle up and put on a lot of clothes when they go to sleep. That can actually suck some of the heat off of your body into the clothing, where you find like sometimes the less clothes you wear, the warmer you are because you create these little air pockets and things. But generally speaking, you are correct. Yes, having dry clothes. Wet clothes will wick heat faster than you just being naked. Strange but true. Yeah, exactly. You're evaporating the water and cooling yourself down. Yes, I know. I was just, being me. Wet socks are the frickin' worst. Ugh. What are you guys doing back there? What are you doing, doggos? Sorry, I was just trying to make sure they're not doing anything weird, but they were. Strawberry was trying to give Yoda another ear infection. I had to stop that, sorry. Right. The doggies are back there. Yeah, What are we now? Looks like we're about 50 away from unleashing doggo camp, if anybody cares about that. Right. Well, moving right along to our next little tidbit here. This was something I posted on Twitter and onto YouTube. Lieutenant Dan said it best: always keep your feet dry. We talked about the mignonette, this famous case. I can't remember when we talked about it, but we talked about it many, many, many moons ago, and we mentioned it during the Lovecraft story stream last Friday. The mignonette brought us the tale of poor Richard Parker. Richard Parker was a poor, unfortunate young cabin boy who had the misfortune of being shipwrecked with a bunch of other dudes that got really hungry really quickly. And not too long after they were shipwrecked and in their lifeboat, I mean, just like several days, I think, or it may have been up to a week or so, but they got really, really hungry and they thought, Richard Parker sure looks yummy. So one of them stabbed poor Richard Parker in the neck, and they drank his blood and ate him. Poor Richard Parker. Richard Parker, who also served as the namesake for the tiger on the Life of Pi. And interestingly and weirdly enough, this victim of cannibalization, Richard Parker, had been mentioned, not the same guy, but Edgar Allan Poe had written a story about 20 years before the actual Richard Parker was stabbed in the neck and eaten. He wrote a short story that included, well, it was actually kind of a long story. It was his longest story he wrote, I believe. Wrote a story, and one part of the story involved, this is actually kind of interesting. I have to, the name of the story has just suddenly slipped my damn mind. Poe, Richard Parker, story. I've got like half of the title in my head. Somebody's probably already posted it while I'm thinking about it. All right, is anybody else here put it up here in chat? Yes. Nope, nobody's put it up here, actually. So I'm searching desperately because it actually figures into my explanation. Damn it. Okay, there it is. I've almost got it. Maritime Adventures. Oh, come on. Why isn't anybody giving me the name of this book? Come on, chat. You're better than this. You're better than me. You're better than me. I got like half of the title in my head, and I'm just drawing a complete stupid. Okay, The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. That was the name of the story, not the Titanic flux. Okay. Oh, David Nelson got it. Well, actually, I will give David Nelson credit for getting the story before I did, but I saw it at the same time because there's like a 20-second delay here. So if we were on real time, you would have got it before I did. The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket is the name of the story. And that it's just one part of the story that tells the poor misadventures of a young cabin boy named Richard Parker, who found himself shipwrecked and eaten by his fellow shipwrecked people. And 20 years later, that thing literally happened. Edgar Allan Poe prophesied this event. But on Netflix, they've got this great, they've just released this new show called The Fall of the House of Usher, which is based on eight or nine stories from Edgar Allan Poe. Plus, there's all kinds of Edgar Allan Poe Easter eggs throughout this whole thing. For example, the Usher family, that was one of Poe's stories, was The Fall of the House of Usher. But we have the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. The lawyer, there's a lawyer in The Fall of the House of Usher, the Netflix series, whose name is Pym, which is taken directly from the title of the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Yes, poor Roger the cabin boy. So one of the characters in the Netflix Fall of the House of Usher is the lawyer for the Usher family, whose name is Pym, and I believe it's episode 6 I was watching last night, and I was amused, and I posted it because I thought it was hilarious because I'm sick that way. So those of you that didn't see it or didn't know what the hell I was talking about, lawyer Pym is talking to another person, and he just casually throws this little comment aside. He's telling him to fix his excuses. Oh, and I'm having Richard Parker for dinner, so make sure you change my schedule accordingly. I'm sick, and I thought that was so fucking funny that I had to pause and laugh and post about it for about 10 minutes. And that is Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker there, who plays Pym. So yeah, Pym. This is like his personal assistant. He's just telling his personal assistant, "Oh, and I'm having Richard Parker for dinner, so adjust my schedule, please." I thought it was funny. Apparently, nobody else does, but I'm damaged like that. So there you go. Yes, that is Mark Hamill, who plays Pym, the lawyer, who is having Richard Parker for dinner, so he needs his schedule adjusted. Pym's royal drink. I have no idea what that is. I know it's funny, but nobody else thinks it is. And you would have laughed. MG Law says Ben Parker was Peter's uncle. Richard and Mary. Oh yeah, Richard Parker was I did not know that. I did not know Richard was Peter's uncle. Huh. That's funny. Who's also dead. Right. It was deliciously witty. So anyway, if you want some Edgar Allan Poe stuff with that, I just found it neat because it was, for those of you astute and you viewers who may see that, I laughed like an idiot for 10 or 15 minutes, not because it was a throwback to the Pym from Nantucket story, just because it tied into Maritime Monday and cannibalism. Right. Okay. Then now that weird thing is out of the way and, nobody cares about that, let's get on to the main course, shall we say, the cannibal rat infested ghost ship. It's out there. You can read stories about the ship, but there's a lot of details missing because there's not a lot that's really actually known about this. So we're going to... There once was a Pym from Nantucket. Yeah. We're going to read a little bit of this here. Let's embiggen it as much as we can. This is about a horrifying final voyage of the cruise boat that became a cannibal rat-infested... That's Yoda having a spaz attack over there. Cannibal rat-infested ghost ship. Maybe there's a ghost in my living room. The Russian cruise ship was plagued by problems until it was docked permanently in 2010. But what happened next was far more gruesome. Dun, dun, dun. I need like a dun, dun, dun sound effect button. The MV stands for motor vessel. The motor vessel Lyubov Orlova was built to have a glittering future on the ocean waves, named after a movie star. It's a Russian movie star, obviously, and traveling to some of the most stunning places on the planet. But instead, the liner met a grisly end, and mystery still surrounds its final resting place. Built in 1976, the MV Lyubov Orlova was an ice-strengthened cruise liner, so it could be used for Antarctic cruises. Yeah, this ship would take tours all the way from the Arctic to the Antarctic and all points in between. Several renovations followed after her initial launch. What the hell? Halloween ghosts. Yoda does not do this normally. Weird. All right, let's try this again. Several renovations followed her initial launch, one in 1999 and another extensive revamp 3 years later. That's kind of odd that there would be one revamp and then a major one 3 years later. But in 2006, the MV Lyubov Orlova ran aground in Antarctica and had to be towed to safety. There she is. There's the Orlova right there. Looks to be somewhere in Antarctica, just judging by the background. TPPT says, I feel weird calling you legal or vices. Jeff, is it? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Just 4 years later, the ship was seized in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, due to debts of 200,000 pounds, that's about $240,000 at that point, and because some of the crew hadn't been paid in more than 5 months. That's not an uncommon thing. The charterers, the people who rent the boat from the owners for long periods of time, they start not paying debts. And at some point, people have had enough and they will arrest or seize the vessel, and it's frozen in place. It's just literally wherever it's arrested, wherever it's seized, they just put a freezing order on it and it can't leave. And if at a certain point in time, depending on what kind of debt it's for, you can sell the ship at auction and use the money to satisfy your debt, or you can file a lawsuit and go through the lawsuit and get to the end of the lawsuit. You get a judgment, then you can sell the ship to enforce the judgment. But basically, yeah, the ship is just stuck there until they either settle the claims or the ship gets sold one way or the other. And it sucks to be those crewmen when you just haven't been paid for 5 years, and then someone says, oh, you're going to have to wait X number of years for a lawsuit. Oh, and you can't afford to do it anyway because it's expensive and it takes a lot of time and you would just really like your money. So there's some injustice that happens, and a lot of this time it happens on fishing vessels and things. It's kind of a sad thing when people want to arrest something, but they can't afford to do it, and then they just get screwed out of their money. For 2 years, the giant vessel lay rotting in the dock until it was finally taken out of service and was bought so it could be broken up and sold for, and its parts sold. It was basically sold for scrap at some point. And it was as the ship was being moved from its port in Canada to a new home in the Dominican Republic that the journey was hampered by problems. And it became nothing but a floating derelict. It became a ghost ship, essentially, but it was a ghost ship in port. A tugboat, the Charlene Hunt, was used to tow the ailing boat, but just a day into the journey, the line connecting the two vessels snapped. So battling huge storms, the crew of the Charlene Hunt tried desperately to reconnect the two boats, but the Lyubov Orlova continued to drift away from the little tug. You've got this little tugboat that somehow got to try to reattach this line to this gigantic ship that's up there, or larger ship. It wasn't particularly gigantic. It held about 100 people on it. They have to try to reconnect this while the heavy waves and the wind, and it can kind of be impossible at times, which kind of turned out to be the case here. Sort of. We'll get to more of the story in just a little bit here. But again, there's another view of the Lyubov Orlova. The mirror. Wait, is that the end of our story? That can't be the end of the story. I think we just got to scroll. Yeah, I knew it wasn't the end of the story because I read the story. However, the massive liner now posed a risk to oil and gas drilling in the seas off the coast of Canada and had to somehow be brought under control to prevent a disaster. Yeah, you don't want this ship banging against an oil rig or something like that, or taking out I don't think they had wind farms back then, but you don't want it to go, you don't want smashing into other things like oil platforms and other boats, or land, spilling oil everywhere. That's a bad thing. So an offshore supply ship, the Atlantic Hawk, belonging to Transport Canada, managed to regain control of the MV Lyubov Orlova and pulled her away from danger. So another ship managed to get control of her. But once she was in international waters, she was cut free, as she remained the responsibility of her owners. There's another interesting thing. Generally speaking, the owners are responsible for taking care of their ship. The Canadian government isn't isn't in charge and responsible for making sure the ship gets safely where it's going. This other ship that just happened to be the Atlantic Hawk that just happened to get control of it to make sure it didn't damage anything in Canadian waters, they're not responsible for making sure the ship gets to its destination. It's the owners. And so basically they say, okay, just get it out of Canada. So they get it out of Canadian waters and they go, all right, owners, come and get your ship. It's floating out on the high sea. But these are the same owners that can't afford to pay their bills. They can't afford to pay their crew. They can't afford to pay their rent on the ship, the charter hire. They can't afford to pay for fuel, etc. So what makes you think they're going to go get their ship? Nothing. So anywho, they just leave the ship floating. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just towed out of Canadian waters as an emergency measure to prevent it from damaging things in Canada. And blame Canada. Now blame the owners. Unfortunately, Canada gets, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending how you look at it, Canada gets a pass on this one. It's not sinking, at least yet. Can a liner be a boat? I think it's just we all know what they mean. Boat, ship, whatever. You know. All right, Leafy Fifi Foo, maintain yourself. Legal Vices, do cruise ships and freighters have Kingston valves? Oh, ask an engineer. What the hell's a Kingston valve? I'm a lawyer. I'm not an engineer. Kingston valve is a type of valve fitted in the bottom of a ship's plating that connects the sea to the ship's piping and storage tanks. It's a type of seacock. Oh, yeah. I should have known better than to say that word to you guys. But yeah, a cork. It's arranged so that under normal operating conditions, sea pressure keeps the valves closed. And when open from the ship's interior, yeah, that's using for ballasting and deballasting, things like that. Yeah. Essentially, yes. All right, got it. The plug, yes. Yeah, I knew I shouldn't have said that one word, but anywho, I forgot who my audience was, you degenerates. All right, back to our regularly scheduled cannibal rat infested ghost ship story. But once she was in international waters, she was cut free as she remained the responsibility of her owners. I got to get back to my story here. There we go. The former cruise ship was now devoid of crew and passengers. Almost. Almost devoid of passengers. As it floated aimlessly across the world's seas with no guidance or steering, a new kind of guest had taken up home on the huge ship, which had previously been able to cater for 100 passengers at a time. The Lyubov Orlova was now believed to be the home to a crew of vicious cannibal rats. One expert explains the ship is thought to have been taken over by hordes of cannibal rats. I mean, there's nothing else to eat. So imagine this giant ship full of these ravenous hordes of cannibal rats appearing on your local beach right where you live. There were even rumors that the ship was slowly making its way across the ocean and heading directly to Britain, for Britain. And this was about 2013, 2014. It was rumored to be heading for Ireland, Scotland, or southern England, one of those three, depending on where the currents and winds took it. So yeah, the hordes of rats were feared to be going to wash up on the shores of Ireland or Scotland or southern England. There were reports of a sighting of a ship matching the description of the 300-foot vessel off the coast of Scotland in 2016. Hey Boomers, wasn't there? Yes, actually. Hey Boomers, wasn't there a love song by Michael Jackson sung to a rat? Yes, Ben. Yep, Fedorovsky nailed it. Ben. Great movie. Flux says, this is kind of awesome. Oh, and Kaiser Pineapple says, rats, I ate his liver with fava beans and a nice candy. Kaiser, I didn't notice last during the Lovecraft stream last Friday. I didn't see this until afterwards, and I was just kind of scrolling through chat. You asked if the super ultra minty pipe tobacco I was smoking was Sutliff Frosty Mint. Exactly correct. It was Sutliff Frosty Mint. Great tobacco. That's what I was smoking. You nailed it. Yes, Ben. Ben was the Michael Jackson song story. Let's get back to this. So it was thought this was the remains. This was I believe in California, but it turned out not to be the ship. The following year, a wreck was beached on the Californian coastline, which many feared was the MV Lyubov Orlova. But this has now been rubbished by experts. Well, thank you for rubbishing that, because we wouldn't want that in We wouldn't want cannibal rats in California. That would be like suddenly become the least of. But seriously, that would be the least of their problems, wouldn't it? And Kaiser Pineapple says, well, as a pipe smoker myself, I was hoping I had guessed right. You did. Sutliff Frosty Mint. I've got like 2 pounds of it. I love that. Anyway, there had been several other reports of the vessel close to Britain's shores. Back in 2013, the MV Lyubov Orlova was spotted 1,300 nautical miles off the coast of Ireland, and then again later in the year with a warning issued to smaller ships. In March that year, an emergency signal from the boat was recorded 700 miles off the coast of Kerry, but it was still classed as international waters. So it's pretty much like, well, there we go. There's the Orlova's emergency signal. All right, it's not our problem. It's in international waters. And they just let it keep floating, I guess. There have been no reported sightings of the MV Lyubov Orlova, for several years, with experts believing she and her gruesome crew of cannibal rats now lie at the bottom of the ocean. However, what the missing ship has left in its wake is years of financial hardships for both her owners and those who crewed her. Many of the men and women who worked on board have never been paid, even after being virtually stranded on the MV Lyubov Orlova while she was docked in St. John's. And there's a couple more articles, some of which have some overlapping details, along together. The old international waters excuse. Well, it's a valid excuse. It's like, it's not our deal, so not our problem. But as soon as the possibility of hordes of cannibal rats washing up on your shore becomes a reality as it enters it enters your coastal waters, then it becomes your issue, or you could even say into your exclusive economic zone. Then it kind of becomes God of Plague, you are one step ahead of the game, my friend. You are one step ahead of the freaking game here. You may not have known that, but you are. At the beginning, I mentioned we were talking about ship collisions, ship rescue. We were talking about cannibal rat infested ghost ships and possible attacks by sea creatures. The last thing I wanted to do was read a short story by William Hope Hodgson. Look at God of Plague being a little bit of a prophet there. Ooh. See, Lovecraft, Poe, those are stories you could expect to hear. I would just have assumed that it was on nobody's bingo card to drop the name William Hope Hodgson today. So the God of Plague pulls that one out of the future. This is some William Hope Hodgson stuff. Yes. And time permitting, we will read a short story by William Hope Hodgson at the end of the show. How's that for cool, God of Plague? You and Kaiser Pineapple bringing the prophetic and scrying heat. Sweet. Okay. Okay, just listen to the Ben song. It's oddly not bad if you ignore realizing it's to a rat. Take the song Love Shack song and sing Lovecraft instead. All right. Well, I'm impressed with that pulling Hodgson out of your hat thing there. That's pretty darn good. Dang. I'm kind of stunned by that. Cool. All right. Valhalla Wades, what's up, brother? Dang. All right. Let's get okay. I was stunned by that. I was literally struck speechless that you pulled that William Hope Hodgson thing out of thin air. That was pretty damn spooky. All right. Let's get on to the next story in this. Oh, we do have. Oh, I thought we had a super chat. I lied. No super chat for you. Scrying heat, does that leave a mark? Yeah, could do. Kudzu. All right. He just forwarded to the end. Yeah, could have done that. All righty. Sorry. I was honestly I was kind of rendered speechless by that. All right. Let me I got to shake that one off. Literally, that was the last thing I expected. This is what we're going to be looking at later, but not right now. So see, I'm not lying. This was like literally there, locked and loaded and ready to go. So let's look a little bit closer into this cannibal rat infested ghost ship, shall we? Again, this kind of echoes a lot of the themes we have here on Maritime Monday, not just the Halloween ones. Poor prep, bad weather, and mechanical breakdown set rat-infested ghost ship adrift, report. Yoda's unconscious here at my feet, so any snorting you hear comes from Yoda. He's zonked out here. It's been more than a year now. This is from January. When was this? When was this done here? 2014. Yeah, right. It's been more than a year now since a failed tow off Canada set a dilapidated Russian expedition ship adrift in the North Atlantic, sparking fears in the media that a derelict ghost ship, possibly infested with cannibal rats, I just love that term, was heading straight for the European coast. Fortunately for Northern Europeans, however, the stories as reported in the media have not yet materialized, and in all likelihood, the vessel is sunk. But today, the general public can rest even more assured that the chances of this type of incident repeating itself have been slightly diminished. Notice how the chance of a cannibal rat-infested ghost ship has only the possibility of such a thing existing has only been slightly diminished because the Transportation Safety Board of Canada has just released its investigations into the loss of tow. That's what you call it when you lose the object you're towing. It's a loss of tow. T-O-W, not T-O-E. On January 2013, the 1962-built U.S. flag tug Charlene Hunt departed St. John's Harbor bound for the Dominican Republic scrapyard with the decommissioned passenger vessel Lyubov Orlova in tow. Less than a day later, the tug lost the tow off Cape Race, Newfoundland, when the towing arrangement failed in heavy weather, setting the Lyubov Orlova adrift. After several failed attempts to reconnect, the Lyubov Orlova was eventually left derelict when it drifted into international waters. In their investigation, TSB Canada has not surprisingly identified a number of contributing factors to the incident, citing a lack of preparation, bad weather, and mechanical breakdown as three important factors. Three important factors. The report summary continues. The TSB investigations revealed a number of inadequacies. Chief among them was that the relief master did not adequately prepare to compensate for the environmental conditions that were encountered during the tow. In other words, he didn't prepare for the bad weather. The report observed that available guidelines respecting the design and construction of towing arrangements were not followed. Yeah, there's kind of an engineering science to how you tow things, and apparently they weren't followed. And the towing arrangement was inadequate for the intended voyage. The TSB investigations also made findings as to risk. In Halifax, Transport Canada TC inspected the Charlie and Hunt and found deficiencies. Repairs were made and the tug proceeded to St. John's to meet the Lyubov Orlova. Before the vessel's departure for the Dominican Republic, TC had requested that the master contact their office in St. John's upon arrival. Well, the master did not report his arrival, and the Charlie and Hunt departed with the tow. Oops. Following the eventual loss of tow and the vessel's return to St. John's, a TC inspection again revealed several deficiencies with the tug. The TSB investigation concluded that had an inspection been undertaken prior to departure, some of these deficiencies would have been identified. If port state control, as PSC, is not exercised and vessels that are unseaworthy are permitted to continue operating, there is a risk that the safety of the crew and the environment may be compromised. Absolutely correct. As for the ghost ship, dun dun dun. I just saw a super chat. We'll get to it, Torrent. As for the ghost ship, officials with the Halifax Rescue Coordination Center heard from the MV Lyubov Orlova on 2 later occasions. Once on February 23rd, when an emergency beacon registered to the Lyubov Orlova, we're just going to start calling it the LO. My tongue is getting twisted. The LO started transmitting approximately 700 nautical miles east of St. John's, and a second time on March 8th, when another beacon from the vessel was set off. In their report, the TSB notes that the LO is presumed sunk. Presumed sunk. Well, that's an interesting story, I think. I like that. And we have Torrent 3. Torrent 3 is a channel you're going to want to look at. Torrent 3 is he does traditional Japanese braiding, and he's in the process of braiding a Legal Vices braid, which off the top of my head contains images of a cigar, a ship's wheel, like a snifter brandy glass, Cthulhu, and Godzilla. He's braiding this as we speak. Every day that he does a stream, he's getting a little further along with this. Go check him out, Torrent 3. And you can, I believe this next stream he said was going to be Tuesday night. Tuesday night US time. So check it out late on Tuesday evening. And there's his channel, Valhalla Waits, is posted up. Thank you, brother. You can watch him braid my braid. Thank you, Torrent 3, for the $5 super chat. Speaking of Lovecraft and music, check out Shoggoth on the Roof. I don't know why, but that just struck me as really funny. Shoggoth on the Roof. All right. I think like Fiddler on the Roof, but Lovecraftian style. Also, thanks for final design. Braiding will resume Tuesday night. I should have just read the super chat and I would have told you. Yes, we'll resume Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So go check that out. Goshzilla, please, or Gollyzilla. We do not want to incur the nuclear lizard's wrath. Yes. That's our cannibal rat infested ghost ship story. And as I want to do occasionally, I start thinking about things a little too deeply. And I just started picturing what the inside of this ship would already, just think about this for a little bit. You've got an empty ship. You got a few dozen rats, maybe 100 or so rats that have just crawled onto the ship while it was in pier, while it was there for just being frozen and not allowed to sail for a few years while they're getting ready to tow it, et cetera, et cetera. These rats just finding their way onto the ship. 100. We'll give them 100 or so. Why not? And if there's probably no food left on there because it's just been docked for a couple of years. Daily Quick Buy says, wait a minute, though. The bilge water would be salt water, so the only fresh water would be puddles of rain. It'd be puddles of rain or the blood of other rats. Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah, see, I'm thinking that, you get these rats that are breeding like rats. you get 20, 30 of these little fuckers in every litter, or however many, or 12, or however many rats are in a litter. You get a bunch of them. You get that through 30, 40 pairs. You get hundreds upon hundreds. They breed. You get hundreds upon hundreds. And the only food or liquid they really have is each other. So they continue to eat and drink the corpses of other rats, which just gives them the nutrients they need to breed some more. Ugh. That just sounds really, really horrific to me. And then you have to worry about these disease-ridden, crazed cannibal rats washing up on your shore. It's probably a good thing that it's presumed to be at the bottom of the ocean. But, I mean, the ship was really old anyway, and this was 10 years ago. It's virtually certainly at the bottom of the ocean. But what if it's not? What if it's still somehow out there? And it washes up on the shore. And that's what starts the zombie apocalypse. That's probably what it'll be. It'll be the Lyubov Orlova, the rats that start the zombie apocalypse. I'm pretty sure. One last little. Now, we talked about a ghost ship. And normally when we talk about ghost ships, we talk about abandoned ships that are just floating around in the ocean. Well, we just have one brief little story from the channel Vigil. I don't think is active anymore. Don't think the channel is active anymore, but I came across this story and I quite liked it. This is a story about ghosts on a ship. So rather than a ghost ship, it's ghosts on a ship, which I thought was a good Halloween story. Let's do the ghosts on a ship story, and then we'll get to our little reading we were planning on doing. What do you do? No, come on. Hey, Dargy. Stop giving Yoda ear infections. Okay? Thank you. I mean it. Right. Sorry, had to chastise the dog. Righty. Let's bring up the story. It's just a short little video. We might do more on it later, because there's some other stories about it that I thought were kind of interesting. This is the frightening true story of the SS Watertown ghosts. From the channel Vigil. You see, I've liked the video because it's a great thing. This channel's got some interesting stuff on it. Like I said, I don't think he's active anymore, but it's a pretty cool channel. Get a chance to check it out. Go ahead and do it. Go over there to Vigil and see. We'll explain it as the story goes along, but this is reportedly an actual undoctored photograph that was taken on board the ship.
In December of 1924, 2 crewmen of the SS Watertown were tasked with cleaning an empty cargo tank. Unfortunately, due to a freak accident, the 2 men were overcome by fumes and died before any help could reach them.
Now, that's a thing, by the way. People going into the holds of ships or going into cargo tanks of ships and dying is a thing. It looks clear. They may have been open for a while, but you can get gases and things that are stored down in the bottom, heavier than air gases. So you can breathe the air as you go into the tank, but then or the holds, and then you get down into the bottom where the heavier than air gases are sitting, and then you die. That's not unheard of. It's kind of spooky. That's what apparently happened to these guys.
Names were James Courtney and Michael Mahan. Michael was thought to have succumbed to the engine and oil fumes first, as his body was found with Courtney's draped over it. Perhaps James tried to drag his unconscious friend out of the fumes, only to fall victim himself. At the time, the Watertown was traveling from New York City towards the Panama Canal. As befitting custom at the time, the 2 men were buried at sea. When the captain, Keith Tracy, asked if anyone would like to say some final words for their deceased crew members, no one made a sound.
Ooh,
it's thought that James and Michael were not well liked aboard their ship. However, it would not be the last time James or Michael would be seen around that ship.
Little foreshadowing there. Not the last time they would be seen around.
Their faces were seen in the waves. The crew began to report seeing the faces of the deceased amongst the water and waves around the ship. It said they would just suddenly appear, stick around for 5 to 10 seconds before disappearing again. Hearing this, Captain Tracy reported these strange events to his employers, the city's service company, who suggested he try to photograph the eerie faces. Captain Tracy then purchased a camera for the continuing voyage. Needless to say, he got his proof. When James and Michael next appeared, he took 6 photographs and then sealed the camera away until they next reached port to have them processed. Upon development, 5 photos showed nothing but water and waves, but the 6th had captured the faces of the men, and no tampering was found to have taken place with the camera or film. There has been several investigations into the photograph, and many conclude the images to be genuine and not to have been altered. There, of course, are skeptics, as there always is with the paranormal. However, they don't claim the picture had been hoaxed, but rather the images are just human imagination, making faces out of waves when faces don't exist. But that doesn't explain why the crew saw their former crewmates for weeks clearly in the seas, silently stalking their ship. And if this was for publicity, it doesn't explain why Captain Tracy went to the bosses for help before the press, or why he only got a camera at their request. It seems the only thing we know for certain is that we have a picture from 1924 that's unaltered, given by the crew members of the SS Watertown as proof for their nightly visits from the deceased. And next time you're at sea, keep an eye out behind your ship. Someone else might be keeping their eyes on you.
Spooky. I just thought that was an interesting story. I like that story because I'd seen the photograph before, and that was a good summary of how the story came to be. It wasn't like they said, "Ooh, look at this picture we took. This spooky picture that we took. Ooh, believe it." They told people about it. They were concerned about it because they'd been seeing these faces for weeks after they chucked them overboard to bury them at sea. And they were told to try to photograph it. And only then did they take the photographs. And it wasn't like everything, but it's just one of those pictures. So there you go. Spooky ghost story of a ghost on a ship to go with our story of a ghost ship. Spooky. Now, to wrap us up here in the remaining time, I'm not sure how long it'll take to read this story, but I did want to share this story with you that we talked about just a few minutes ago. We won't bring down the lighting like we did for the Lovecraft reading, or like we will do tomorrow for the Poe and Lovecraft reading. We'll just read the story here. All right, let's do a quick poll here, shall we? The quick poll I want to do. I don't know how you want me to do this story. Do you just want to stare at my mug while I read this, or do you want me to bring it up on the screen and read along? As best I can tell, majority rules is what we'll do. So if you want me to just read it, put a 1 in the chat. If you want me to bring up the story so you can read along, put a 2 in the chat. So one for just me, 2 for me and story. 1 for just me, 2 for me and story. Not making it easy. That looks pretty even, dang it. Yeah, and like you that aren't actually giving numbers, you're actually hindering and not helping. So ordinarily it would be funny and amusing, but not today because I'm actually trying to get your opinion. I'm trying to get everybody. So it looks like about 50-50, so I'm going to take the easy, cheap way out. I'm just going to read the story. I have no idea how long it's going to take. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I should probably bring it up and read it. If I can. It's not letting me download the PDF. It's not letting me download the PDF, so I may not have any choice in the matter. Let me see if there's an option I can't see because dark mode is on. Dark mode. Nope, it just, sorry, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's just me. We're going to do just me. So here we go. Put back on dark mode so it doesn't reflect so much in the glasses. There we go. Right, here we go. This is a story called A Tropical Horror by William Hope Hodgson. It was a contemporary-ish of Lovecraft. May have been some horror envy between the two. So this is A Tropical Horror by William Hope Hodgson, written in 1905. We're 130 days out from Melbourne, and for 3 weeks we have lain in this sweltering calm. It's midnight, and our watch on deck until 4 a.m. I go out and sit on the hatch. A minute later, Jokey, our youngest apprentice, joins me for a chatter. Many are the hours we have sat thus and talked in the night watches, though to be sure, it is Jokey who does the talking. I'm content to smoke and listen, giving an occasional grunt at seasons to show that I'm attentive. Jokey's been silent for some time, his head bent in meditation. Suddenly he looks up, evidently with the intention of making some remark. As he does so, I see his face stiffen with a nameless horror. He crouches back, his eyes staring past me at some unseen fear. Then his mouth opens. He gives forth a strangulated cry and topples backwards off the bench, striking his head against the deck. Fearing I know not what, I turn to look. Great heavens, rising above the bulwarks, seen plainly in the bright moonlight, is a vast, slobbering mouth a fathom across. From the huge, dripping lips hang great tentacles. As I look at the thing, it comes further over the rail. It is rising higher and higher. There are no eyes visible, only that fearful, slobbering mouth set on its tremendous trunk-like neck, which, even as I watch, is curling inboard with its stealthy celerity of an enormous eel. Over it comes in vast, heaving folds. Will it never end? The ship gives a slow, sullen roll to starboard as she feels the weight. Then the tail, a broad, flat-shaped mass, slips over the teak rails and falls with a loud slump onto the deck. For a few seconds, the hideous creature lies, heaped in writhing, slimy coils. Then, with quick, darting movements, the monstrous head travels along the deck. Close by the mainmast stand the harness casks, and alongside these a freshly opened cask of salt beef with the top loosely replaced. The smell of meat seems to attract the monster, and I can hear it sniffing with a vast indrawing breath. Then those lips open, displaying 4 huge fangs. There is a quick forward motion of the head, a sudden crashing, crunching sound, and the beef and barrel have disappeared. The noise brings one of the ordinary seamen out of the forecastle. Coming into the night, he can see nothing for a moment. Then, as he gets further aft, he sees, and with horrified cries rushes forward. Too late. From the mouth of the thing, there flashes forth a long, broad blade of glistening white, set with fierce teeth. I avert my eyes, but cannot shut out the sickening glut that follows. The man on the lookout, attracted by the disturbance, has witnessed the tragedy and flies for refuge into the forecastle, flinging to the heavy iron door after him. The carpenter and sailmaker come running out from the half-deck in their drawers. Seeing the awful thing, they rush aft to the cabin with shouts of fear. The second mate, after one glance over the break of the poop deck, runs down I know I shouldn't have said that word either, runs down the companionway with the helmsman after him. I can hear him barring the scuttle, and abruptly I realize that I am on the main deck alone. So far, I've forgotten my own danger. The past few minutes seem like a portion of an awful dream. Now, however, I comprehend my position, and shaking off the horror that has held me, turn to seek safety. As I do, my eyes fall upon Jokey, lying huddled and senseless with fright where he has fallen. I cannot leave him there. Close by stands an empty half-deck, a little still-built house with iron doors. The lee one is hooked open. Once inside, I'm safe. Up to the present, the thing has seemed to be unconscious of my presence. Now, however, the huge barrel-like head sways in my direction. Then comes a muffled bellow, and the great tongue flicks in and out as the brute turns and swirls aft to meet me. I know there's not a moment to lose, and picking up the helpless lad, I make a run for the open door. It is only a distance of a few yards, but that awful shape is coming down the deck to me in great wreathing coils. I reach the house and tumble in with my burden, then out on deck again to unhook and close the door. Even as I do so, something white curls round the end of the house. With a bound, I am inside, and the door is shut and bolted. Through the thick glass of the ports, I see the thing sweep around the house, in vain searching for me. Jokey has not moved yet, so kneeling down, I loosen his shirt collar and sprinkle some water from the breaker over his face. While I'm doing this, I hear Morgan shout something, and then comes a great shriek of terror, and again that sickening clot, clot. Jokey stirs uneasily, rubs his eyes, and sits up suddenly. Was that Morgan shouting? He breaks off with a cry. Where are we? I have had such awful dreams. At this instant, there is a sound of running footsteps on the deck, and I hear Morgan's voice at the door. Tom, open! He stops abruptly and gives an awful cry of despair. Then I hear him rush forward. Through the porthole, I see him spring into the fore rigging and scramble madly aloft. Something steals up after him. It shows white in the moonlight. It wraps itself around his right ankle. Morgan stops dead, plucks out his sheath knife, and hacks fiercely at the fiendish thing. It lets go, and in a second he is over the top and running for dear life. Up the rigging, a time of quietness follows, and presently I see that the day is breaking. Not a sound can be heard, save the heavy gasping breathing of the thing. As the sun rises higher, the creature stretches itself out along the deck and seems to enjoy the warmth. Still no sound, either from the men forward or the officers aft. I can only suppose that they're afraid of attracting its attention. Yet a little later, I hear the report of a pistol away aft, and looking out, I see the serpent raise its huge head as though listening. As it does so, I get a good view of the forepart, and in the daylight, see what the night has hidden. There, right about the mouth, is a pair of little pig eyes that seem to twinkle with a diabolical intelligence. It's swaying its head slowly from side to side. Then, without warning, it turns quickly and looks right through the port. I dodge out of sight, but not soon enough. It has seen me and brings its great mouth up against the glass. I hold my breath. My God, if it breaks the glass. I cower, horrified. From the direction of the port, there comes a loud, harsh scraping. I shiver. Then I remember that there are little iron doors to shut over the ports in bad weather. Without a moment's waste of time, I rise to my feet and slam the door over the port. Then I go round to the others and do the same. We are now in darkness. And I tell Jokey in a whisper to light the lamp, which, after some fumbling, he does. About an hour before midnight, I fall asleep. I'm awakened suddenly some hours later by a scream of agony and the rattle of a water dipper. There is a slight scuffling sound, then that soul-revolting clop, clop. I guess what has happened. One of the men forward has slipped out of the forecastle to try to get a little water. Evidently, he has trusted to the darkness to hide his movements, poor beggar. He has paid for his attempt with his life. After this, I cannot sleep. Though the rest of the night passes quietly enough, towards morning I doze a bit, but wake every few minutes with a start. Jokey is sleeping peacefully. Indeed, he seems worn out with a terrible strain of the past 24 hours. About 8 a.m., I call him, and we make a light breakfast off the dry ship's biscuits and water. Of the latter, happily, we have a good supply. Jokey seems more himself and starts to talk a little, possibly somewhat louder than is safe, as he chatters on, wondering how it will end. There comes a tremendous blow against the side of the house, making it ring again. After this, Jokey is very silent. As we sit there, I cannot but wonder what all the rest are doing, and how the poor beggars forward are faring, cooped up without water, as the tragedy of the night has proved. Towards noon, I hear a loud bang, followed by a terrific bellowing. Then comes a great smashing of woodwork, and the cries of men in pain. Vainly I ask myself, what has happened? I began to reason. By the sound of the report, it was evidently something much heavier than a rifle or pistol, and judging from the mad roaring of the thing, the shot must have done some execution. On thinking it over further, I become convinced that by some means those aft have got a hold of a small signal cannon we carry. And though I know that some of them have been hurt, perhaps killed, yet a feeling of exultation seizes me as I listen to the roars of that thing, and we realize that it is badly wounded, perhaps mortally. After a while, however, the bellowing dies away, and only an occasional roar, denoting more of anger than aught else, is heard. Presently, I become aware, by the ship's canting over to starboard, that the creature has gone over to that side, and a great hope springs up within me that possibly it has had enough of us and is going over the rail into the sea. For a time, all is silent, and my hope grows stronger. I lean across and nudge Jokey, who's sleeping with his head on the table. He starts up sharply with a loud cry. "Hush," I whisper. "I'm not certain, but I do believe it's gone." Jokey's face brightens wonderfully, and he questions me eagerly. We wait another hour or so, with hope ever rising. Our confidence is returning fast. Not a sound can we hear, not even the breathing of the beast. I get out some biscuits, and Jokey, after rummaging in the locker, produces a small piece of pork and a bottle of ship's vinegar. We fall into it with a relish. After our long abstinence from food, this meal acts on us like wine, and what must Jokey do but insist on opening the door to make sure the thing has gone? This I will not allow, telling him that at least it will be safer to open the iron port covers first and have a look out. Jokey argues, but I am immovable. He becomes excited. I believe the youngster is lightheaded. Then as I turn to unscrew one of the aft covers, Jokey makes a dash at the door. Before he can undo the bolts, I have him, and after a short struggle, lead him back to the table. Even as I endeavor to quieten him, there comes at the starboard door, the door that Jokey has tried to open, a sharp, loud sniff. Sniff, followed immediately by a thunderous grunting howl, and a foul stench of putrid breath sweeps in under the door. A great trembling takes me, and were it not for the carpenter's tool chest, I should fall. Jokey turns very white and is violently sick, after which he is seized by a hopeless fit of sobbing. Hour after hour passes, and weary to death, I lie down on the chest upon which I have been sitting and try to rest. It must be about 2:30 in the morning, after a somewhat longer doze, that I am suddenly awakened by a most tremendous uproar away forward. Men's voices shrieking, cursing, praying, but in spite of the terror expressed, so weak and feeble. While in the midst, at times broken off short with that hellishly suggestive glut is the unearthly bellowing of the thing. Fear incarnate seizes me, and I can only fall upon my knees and pray. Too well I know it is happening. Jokey has slept through it all, and I am thankful. Presently, under the door, there steals a narrow ribbon of light, and I know that the day has broken on the second morning of our imprisonment. I let Jokey sleep on. I will let him have peace while he may. Time passes, but I take little notice. The thing is quiet, probably sleeping. About midday, I eat a little biscuit and drink some of the water. Jokey still sleeps. It is best so. A sound breaks the stillness. The ship gives a slight heave, and I know that once more the thing is awake. Round the deck it moves, causing the ship to roll perceptibly. Once it goes forward, I fancy to again explore the forecastle. Evidently, it finds nothing, for it returns almost immediately. It pauses a moment at the house, then goes up further aft, up aloft. Somewhere in the rigging, there rings out a peal of wild laughter. Though sounding very faint and far away, the horror stops suddenly. I listen intently, but hear nothing save a sharp creaking beyond the after end of the house, as though a strain has come upon the rigging. A minute later, I hear a cry aloft, followed almost instantly by a loud crash on deck that seems to shake the ship. I wait in anxious fear. What is happening? The minutes pass slowly. Then comes another frightening shout. It ceases suddenly. The suspense has become terrible, and I am no longer able to bear it. Very cautiously, I open one of the after port covers and peep out to see a fearful sight. There, with its tail upon the deck and its vast body curled around the mainmast, is the monster. Its head above the topsail yard, and its great claw-armed tentacle waving in the air. It is the first proper sight that I have had of the thing. Good heavens, it must weigh 100 tons. Knowing that I shall have time, I open the port itself, then crane my head out and look up. There, on the extreme end of the lower topsail yard, I see one of the able seamen. Even down here, I note the staring horror on his face. At this moment, he sees me and gives a weak, hoarse cry for help. I can do nothing for him. As I look at the great tongue shoots out and licks him off the yard, much as might a dog a fly off the window pane. Higher up, but happily out of reach, are two more of the men. As far as I can judge, they're lashed to the mast above the royal yard. The thing attempts to reach them, but after a futile effort, it ceases and starts to slide down, coil on coil, to the deck. While doing this, I notice a great gaping wound on its body some 20 feet above the tail. I drop my gaze from aloft and look aft. The cabin door is torn from its hinges, and the bulkhead, which unlike the half-deck is of teakwood, is partly broken down. With a shudder, I realize the cause of those cries after the cannon shot. Turning, I screw my head round and try to see the foremast, but I can't. The sun, I notice, is low, and the night is near. Then I draw in my head and fasten up both port and cover. How will it end? Oh, how will it end? After a while, Jokey wakes up. He's very restless yet. Though he has not eaten nothing during the day, I cannot get him to touch anything. Night draws on. We are too weary, too dispirited to talk. I lie down, but not to sleep. Time passes. A ventilator rattles violently somewhere on the main deck, and there sounds constantly that slurring, gritty noise. Later, I hear a cat's agonized yowl, and then all is quiet. Sometime after comes a great splash alongside. Then, for some hours, all is silent as a grave. Occasionally, I sit up on the chest and listen, yet never a whisper comes to me. There is an absolute silence. Even the monotonous creak of the gear has died away entirely. And at last, a real hope is springing up within me. That splash, this silence, surely I am justified in hoping. I do not wake Jokey this time. I will prove first for myself that all is safe. Still, I wait. I will run no unnecessary risks. After a time, I creep to the afterport and will listen. But there's no sound. I put up my hand and feel at the screw. Then again, I hesitate. Not for long. Noiselessly, I begin to unscrew the fastening of the heavy shield. It swings loose on its hinge, and I pull it back and peer out. My heart is beating madly. Everything seems strangely dark outside. Perhaps the moon has gone behind a cloud. Suddenly, a beam of moonlight enters through the port and goes as quickly. I stare out, something moves. Again, the light streams in, and now I seem to be looking into a great cavern, at the bottom of which quivers and curls something palely white. My heart seems to stand still. It is the horror. I start back and seize the iron port flap to slam it to. As I do so, something strikes the glass like a steam ram, shatters it to atoms, and flicks past me into the berth. I scream and spring away. The port is quite filled with it. The lamp shows it dimly. It is curling and twisting here and there. It is as thick as a tree and covered with a smooth, slimy skin. At the end is a great claw like a lobster's, only 1,000 times larger. I cower down into the farthest corner. It has broken the tool chest to pieces with one click of those frightful mandibles. Jokey has crawled under a bunk. The thing sweeps round in my direction. I feel a drop of sweat trickle down my face. It tastes salty. Nearer comes that awful death. Crash! I roll backwards. It has crushed the water breaker against which I leaned, and I am rolling in the water across the floor. The claw drives up, then down with a quick, uncertain movement, striking the deck, a dull, heavy blow, a foot from my head. Jokey gives a little gasp of horror. Slowly, the thing rises and starts feeling its way around the berth. It plunges into a bunk and pulls out a bolster, nips it in half and drops it, then moves on. It is feeling along the deck. As it does so, it comes across a half of the bolster. It seems to toy with it, then picks it up and takes it out through the port. A wave of putrid air fills the berth. There's a grating sound, and something enters the port again, something white and tapering and set with teeth. Hither and thither it curls, rasping over the bunks, ceiling, and deck with a noise like that of a great saw at work. Twice it flickers above my head and I close my eyes. Then off it goes again. It sounds now on the opposite side of the berth and nearer to Jokey. Suddenly, the harsh, raspy noises becomes muffled, as though the teeth were passing across some soft substance. Jokey gives a horrid little scream that breaks off into a bubbling, whistling sound. I open my eyes. The tip of the vast tongue is curled tightly around something that drips, then is quickly withdrawn, allowing moonbeams to steal again into the berth. I rise to my feet, looking round. I note, in a melancholy sort of way, the wrecked state of the berth, the shattered chests, dismantled bunks, and something else. "Oh, Jokey," I cry and tingle all over. There's that awful thing again at the port. I glance around for a weapon. I will revenge Jokey. There, right under the lamp, where the wreck of the carpenter's chest strews the floor, lies a small hatchet. I spring forward and seize it. It is small, but so keen, so keen. I feel its razor edge lovingly. Then I'm back at the port. I stand to one side and raise my weapon. The great tongue is feeling its way into those fearsome remains. It reaches them. As it does so, with a scream of "Jokey! Jokey!" I strike savagely again and again and again, gasping as I strike once more, and the monstrous mass falls to the deck, writhing like a hideous eel. A vast, warm flood rushes in through the porthole. There's a sound of breaking steel and an enormous bellowing. A singing comes in my ears and grows louder, louder. The berth grows indistinct and suddenly dark. Extract from the log of the steamship Hispaniola, June 24th, latitude blank, north, longitude blank, west, 11 a.m. Sighted foremast bark about 4 points on the port bow, flying signal of distress, ran down to her and sent a boat aboard. She proved to be the Glendoon, homeward bound from Melbourne to London. Found things in a terrible state, decks covered with blood and slime. Steel deck house stove in, broke open door, and discovered youth of about 19 in last stage of inanition, also part remains of a boy about 14 years of age. There was a great quantity of blood in the place, and a huge, curled-up mass of whitish flesh, weighing about half a ton, one end of which appeared to have been hacked through with a sharp instrument. Found forecastle door open and hanging from one hinge. Doorway bulged as though something had been forced through. Went inside, terrible state of affairs, blood everywhere, broken chest, smashed bunks, but no men nor remains. Went aft again and found youth showing signs of recovery. When he came round, he gave the name of Thompson. Said they'd been attacked by a huge serpent. Thought it must have been sea serpent. He was too weak to say much, but told us there were some men up in the mainmast. Sent a hand aloft who reported them lashed to the royal mast and quite dead. Went aft to the cabin. Here we found the bulkhead smashed to pieces and the cabin door lying on the deck near the after hatch. Found body of captain down lazarette, but no officers. Noticed amongst the wreckage part of the carriage of a small cannon. Came aboard again. Have sent the second mate with 6 men to work her into port. Thompson is with us. He has written out his version of the affair. We certainly consider that the state of the ship as we found her bears out in every respect his story. Signed, William Norton, Master. Tom Briggs, First Mate. There ends the story, a tropical horror written in 1905 by William Hope Hodgson. There we go. That's our Maritime Monday Halloween horror story. Oh, and look at that. We finished right almost exactly on time. How cool is that? Well, I hope some of you were entertained by that story. It said, like I said, I expected 0 people to pull the possibility of a William Hope Hodgson story out of thin air to be shocking. The fact that someone did that was pretty damn awesome. So cool. Right, guys. I don't know. What did you think of the story? Some of you probably thought it was dumb. Adriana bringing out the worm. Nice. Reminder, hit that like button. Oh yeah, let's end our like and subscribe poll here real quick. We've currently got 235 concurrent viewers and 276 likes. We made it about 3/4 of the way to Doggo Camp, so that was pretty cool. Closer than we normally get on a Maritime Monday. And our like and subscribe poll. Like, subscribe, and vote. What is your Maritime Monday Halloween costume? 12% of you said a cannibal crewman victim. 24% of you said a cannibal crewman. 28% of you said Davy Jones, not the monkey, the Cthulhu one. And a full 36% of you said baby shark. Do. Well, there you go. That was the like and subscribe poll today. Thank you. 319 votes and 277 likes. All right. All right, people. Like 50 of you cheated. You took the poll without hitting like. All right. Cannibal Rat was going to be one of my choices, but for some reason, I can't remember what it was. I decided against it. More of these horror stories, please. Well, that will be tomorrow. Tomorrow being Halloween, I'll read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe and some more, probably some because we read 9 Lovecraft stories last time. We probably will read a couple of the longer stories, or maybe just one really long one. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't even know if you enjoy these things. I'm just having fun doing this. Then Wednesday, we'll do the horror reading for Halloween on Tuesday. Then Wednesday will be the final episode of Depp v. Heard sidebar dramatic readings. Thursday will be O.J. Simpson Chill Stream with Chandler Remington. And Friday morning, I will have Steve Gosney. Friday morning U.S. time, I will have Steve Gosney on my channel, where I will be hosting his book launch with friends of Steve. We'll get the full guest list at some point in the future. And then Friday evening, I will be on Talk with Sally stream, where I will be co-hosting her birthday celebration. So that'll take us through a little bit of time, I think. Yep. Yeah. All right. And next Maritime Monday, we will have, unless there's some change in schedule, the founder of Nomadic Watches in Ireland, who is also a maritime guy with maritime stories, and we'll be talking a little bit about the maritime history of Belfast, Ireland. All right, peeps. Yes, Elka M, who is way behind, says Helgoland is the correct name of the island, just letting you know. Greetings from Germany. Well, see, that's what you call a local expert, and you will see that. Let me send her a real-time thank you at, where are we at here? Where is he yelled at button? Elka. Thanks. All right, hopefully she sees that. Super duper cool. Had to listen in most of the morning. Glad I got to participate in the end. This was so good. Hey, RL, what's up? Well, all right. Well, if it was so good, Bikini Sally, all the way. We'll see what happens on the birthday stream. TPPT says, have fun, Jeff. Fuck us. What do we do now? JKD Buck, man, you should have seen them kicking Edgar Allan Poe. Who's kicking Edgar Allan Poe? Well, stay tuned for at least the Raven tomorrow. All right, guys. I guess that about wraps this up, doesn't it? It is now Halloween here in Korea. 2 minutes ago, it became Halloween. What's up, Yoda? I'm going to go play with the dogs for a little bit before I go to sleep. And I just want to say a super special thanks to all you mods out there. We've got a large number of mods here. That's great. Thank you so much for helping out, for attending, for keeping the obstreperous and unruly chat in line. But also thank you to chat. Thank you to chat so much for being here. You are truly, and I know I say this every day, but it is absolutely true. You are the greatest chat on the entire internet. Couldn't do this without you. Wouldn't want to do it without you. Uh-oh, Kaiser missed the last story. Go back and listen or rewatch it, I guess, if people enjoyed it. I don't know. Maybe you should ask other people if they enjoyed it. But you are the greatest chat on the entire internet. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. We'll see you tomorrow for our Halloween special. More stories. Until then, take care, everybody. Enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy who you're doing it with. And of course, whatever you do, just make sure you enjoy your legal vices.
Year